Support for this podcast comes from Goodman. Goodman Manufacturing Company LP produces a complete line of refreshingly affordable air conditioning and heating equipment. All Goodman brand products are designed, engineered, and assembled in the United States. For more information, visit goodmanmfg.com.
Welcome to The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. Hello there, SGI family and other contractor friends. I'm so thankful you're here. As a reminder, all episodes of the Successful Contractor Show are available on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast player of choice. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to remind everyone that registration is open for your SGI Fall Expo. It will be held in beautiful Temecula, California. That's Southern California wine country. Now, if you want to come early, for 2 days prior, Learning Alliance is offering a class called Developing Effective Managers. So come check that out. I know we're going to have over 1,000 people in attendance at this expo, but there are only so many rooms because this is a smaller property. So please register soon. You can do so by visiting your SGI Hub website and doing so right there. I look forward to seeing you there. Today's show features Kelly Good of Goods Roofing in Burton, Michigan, which is just outside of Flint. I love talking to Kelly because he's a great guy, hardworking dude. Been an SGI member for a long time, helps a lot of other SGI members. But I really like Kelly, and why we're talking today is he is proof that less is more. And here's what I mean by that. As you will hear, for a long time, Kelly and his wife, Michelle, would chase those top-line revenue dollars. They'd hire more people, sell more jobs, and ultimately they generated close to $5 million in sales at one point. But it wasn't really what they wanted out of the business, as they found. Fast forward to 2020, Goods Roofing only did $1.8 million, but it was at a staggering 22% net profit. And Kelly expects the same in 2021. So let's be honest. It's the net dollars that really count. And here's the best part. Kelly will say, yeah, business is still a little chaotic at times, but he has far more control over it. Goods Roofing is highly selective about the clients they take. That means they have customers who are happy to pay their prices and are happy about the work. Their technicians are making great money and have great work-life balance. And Kelly has more free time to work on the business proactively. He has time to coach his youngest son in sports, and he's soon to be working on a cabin he purchased in some land just outside of town, not too far. So Kelly and Michelle are a great lesson that you can have a sensational life in the trades, and that doesn't mean chasing those top-line dollars all the time. Again, it's the bottom-line ones that count. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Kelly Good of Goods Roofing and take away a nugget or two. Kelly, thank you so very, very much for taking time with me today. I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it. For those tuning in that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, could you please share with them your name, your company name, and where you guys are located?
Hey, everyone. Kelly Good with Goods Roofing up in Michigan, Burton, just on the outskirts of Flint, Michigan.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, again, thank you for hopping on the show. Very excited to have you. Just so people understand kind of the size and scope of your business, let's just talk personnel a little bit. Who's in the office? Let's start with the office. Who's all managing Goods Roofing there on that side?
So besides myself, I had my wife, Michelle. She joined the business in 2012, where she come from the credit union business before, managing a couple credit unions. So she's the head chief in the office.
Sharp lady.
Yeah, she is. Like we talked earlier, she's my DME.
That's right.
And then we have a semi-retired lady.
Okay.
That works part-time. Her name is Mira. And we've been really enjoying having a part-time person.
Yeah.
Because she's so relaxed and, it's not about money or nothing like that.
Right. She just enjoys the work.
She enjoys Michelle. She's actually a customer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we just insulated her home a week before she hired her. She come in to pay her bill, and she wouldn't leave. Her and Michelle just hit it off, and then next thing you know, she come in Monday and she was working part time for us. So
is she answering phones, helping with some bookkeeping, or what's she doing?
Answering phones and currently, the pandemic kind of changed everything. So Michelle leaves the office at 2:30 to go pick up our little one.
Oh yeah, sure.
So our office essentially closes at 2:30.
Yeah.
We got Mirna coming in at 2:30 till 6.
Oh, nice.
Grab them phone calls that we tend to miss at that time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we have two technicians. I have Caleb. He's been with us for about 7 years now.
Okay.
Um, and then we call him his partner, but they work together a lot and they split up a lot. They both run appointments. They both sell repairs.
Yeah.
They do the repairs.
Okay.
They sell the insulation. They do the insulation.
Okay.
And they also sell full replacements. We've the last 2 years we've turned them on to full replacements too. So
great.
50% of their time is run leads during the week, and the other 50% is install.
That's fantastic. That's
repairs.
Great. Yeah. And then you were doing some sales too, right?
Yep. And I've been out doing some sales the last couple of years. I had been a good 10 years since I ran any leads.
Yeah.
And like I said, I jumped back in it just because I felt like I was so disconnected from the business.
Sure.
And since my name and face is all over everything, it's really hard to just step away completely and be away from it. And
sure.
And of course, trying to polish things up and whatnot. So the last 2 years, I've been running leads as well with them.
Yeah.
Now, currently, the last probably month, we've been able to back me off of all the lead, any lead, really. I'm still doing it part-time here and there because I've got my own customer base that, 25 years that, so I still have my production and I have my few sales every week that I still am a part, mostly on the replacement side.
Sure.
So I'm the roofing expert in the office, and so everybody leans on me for all the answers for that stuff. And
sure.
I got my techs out in the field overseeing the crews. I got 2 crews.
You have 2 crews. Okay.
2 crews. Yeah. So it's kind of where we stand right now. Big change from a couple of years ago.
I was going to say, and we'll get into that because that's why I think it's fascinating of your story is how you kind of you've figured out what you really wanted out of the business and maybe dialed it back a little bit and gotten super profitable. And that's really why we're talking. So just share with everyone, maybe the last couple, this year where you are net profit wise and then last year as well. And just so people understand and let them know what your revenue is as well. So kind of get a full scope of what Goods Roofing is financially.
Yeah, we'll go back to 17, which was the highest year we had. And it was because we had a huge catastrophic windstorm in the state.
Sure.
We were at 4.8 million. The margins, at the end of the day, I bet you they were in the 10 somewhere. Because quite frankly, we didn't collect all the money from the insurance companies when it was all said and done. Because we're missing pictures or we're missing documentation. And it just got to the point where just write it off and move on, after a year and a half of trying to collect it. And we got bigger fish to fry. So, and then, we kind of backed down from that a little bit, 3.5 million the following year. Right now last year we did 1.8. We're at 22% net. This year, right now we're running 23% net. And
that's awesome.
Everything is, it's chaotic in its own way, but it's under control. It's controlled chaos now, I guess, if that's the right way to say it. So, that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'm not running leads, and I really don't know where I'm fitting in right now, but I'm just kind of hovering around and making sure, I'm here for everybody. And
right.
My goal is to, do some more recruiting, get better at HR.
Sure.
And start looking for that one superstar, and my goal would be to find one superstar in the next probably 24 months. I'm in no hurry whatsoever.
Right. And we'll maybe get into that in a minute, how, when you grow fast because of storms and stuff, that invites other challenges and headaches. And I think just in talking to you before we start recording, you seem like you're in a good space. You're happy with where things are. You said control chaos, but at least you have a finger on everything. Your customers are being taken care of really well, and you're happy. And obviously, who's going to complain about 20% net plus, right? I think that's awesome, and I think that's a real credit to you and Michelle and the business you've built. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Real quick. Let's dive into your story just a little bit. I've known, for those who are watching or listening, I've known Kelly for a long time. He's been a great member, very helpful to other members, just a good dude. You joined RSI in 2010, I believe. Maybe talk about where the business was leading up to that, because it was chaotic back then, but maybe not as profitable back then either, right?
Chaotic. Yeah, it was chaotic. Profitable? No.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Bob. But the big plaque is right out in the hallway there. You got to walk by it once in a while with the book, the magazine.
Yeah.
So and then of course they see it out at Expo. It's quite fun to see that. But 2010. Where was I at 2010? Yeah, Michelle wasn't part of the business then yet.
Right. You guys were you guys dating then?
Yeah, we were just dating.
Yeah.
So, Vegas Expo, right after I joined. I don't know if Expo was first or my wedding out there in Vegas.
Right.
I think Expo was first, and then we flew back out a month later and got married out there.
I think I remember the story.
But so 2010 when we joined, I guess the premise behind it was, man, I got to get my crap together if I'm going to marry this woman.
Right.
I mean, quite frankly, she had her crap together. She master's degree and had a great job and good salary and benefits.
Very successful.
She was doing very well. Had a house that was paid for, and she was doing very well. And I knew I just needed to do better. And at the end of the day, going to Profit Day down there in Chicago. I mean, quite frankly, we couldn't afford the hotel you guys were staying in.
Sure.
So we stayed down at the Shoddy Inn down the road in the ghetto.
How things have changed. Yeah, right.
Cockroaches and everything in that place, man. Sketchy. Sure. But, and, we didn't have the money to join, and it was essentially my company, so I wasn't asking her for any money or anything like that. She didn't have it either, but she focused on paying her mortgage and all that stuff off.
I respect that for sure.
So I had a little bit of credit card balance, and I bounced my $5,000 deposit on my credit card balance, and promise you guys I'd pay you back, and So, but at the end of the day, I was probably $250,000 in debt with suppliers, and I was building our front building, our 1,200 square foot building. We had just tore down a little house on a commercial property that Michelle and I bought together. And that I ended up kind of running out of money on that. I had to rob Peter to pay Paul and get it all finished. And I was digging trenches and laying pipe when I was building this, and I was answering the phone at the same time at the bottom of the trench. I was answering the phone then. It was me.
Let me interject real quick. Your fault was never hard work. I mean, you worked your butt off. It was just, I think it's pricing, right? Pricing and not knowing your numbers. If I'm not mistaken, you remembered, you were like, oh yeah, what I found out is I'd make some money on one job, and then I'd lose your shirt on another job, right? I mean, that's kind of how it was back then.
Yeah, I had employees at the time, up to I think close to 20, 25 of them. And seeking advice from others was, you need an office. This was before RSI. You need some, guys to help you do this and that. And so I hired a few people and added a bunch of vans and equipment and tools. The overhead kept on going up. And I remember sitting in my pole barn at my house and telling my guys, like, hey, man, I can't charge anymore.
Right.
We got to, make money on these jobs. Otherwise, it's not going to work, So, and unbeknownst to me, I could charge more if I, start figuring it out. So, I wasn't priced right at all. I was priced within the going rate of the community. Everybody, I think, at one point picked up the phone and called up the competition and said, hey, what would you charge me for a 412 roof, and get an idea, or you would hear it out and about in the, out there. And I wasn't, and I had the roofing dog, that I got that in 06. And the advice from that guy was, I think he's still at $250 a square in price. So advice from him wasn't the greatest when it come to financials.
Yeah, but you're looking for something. You were looking for something.
I was trying to improve things, but the overhead, outgrew the at $225 a square or something. I was at. I honestly think that's where I was at. 08, 2010, something like that. It was
right.
low.
Right.
I don't know how you, manage that, at all. But at the end of the day, there was no money left over. Bills were paid. Well, no, they weren't all the way.
Yeah.
I was current with everything anyway, but there was never any money left over at the end. And then every now and again, I would have an extra 20 grand and I would throw it in the closet.
Yeah.
That's how I paid my bills, and got
sure.
by. I knew that wasn't right, So that's where we ended up. We reaching the ties in the old Compass magazine didn't scare me no more. I was like, I got to pick the tie and figure this all out. So the pricing was huge.
Right.
Huge
well,
deal.
Yeah. And then you had people, you had trouble, if I remember back then, with your people buying into this increased pricing too. You ultimately ended up just you and another guy selling repairs. And by the way, before I let you, repairs wasn't a thing. You didn't do a lot of repairs when you first started, right? You were pretty much putting them under. Right.
When someone called, they had a leak, I'd be like, like everybody else that I see now, like, yeah, I'm coming. I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you just quite frankly don't go because something else come up and, you knew there was nothing there. It was a waste of your time anyway, because you quite frankly didn't charge more than $75 for a repair or $50 for a pipe boot. And you knew you weren't making any money anyway. So what's the point of going? And then you'd sell people and, I knew that wasn't right either. So we did, quite frankly, did no repairs at all.
Right.
None whatsoever. Joining in 2010, like I said, Michelle wasn't part of the business. And the group of guys that I had, they were employees. And that's what we found was once we started, I remember the DME on the whiteboard in the front building, in the garage part of the front building I was telling you about earlier.
Sure.
And specifically, we're talking about the same conversation that we talked about years ago was, they would, the overtime would burn up the profits on any jobs that we made money on that week.
Right.
And some of the jobs we didn't make money on. So we were we were working and it looked good and everything, but behind the scenes, it wasn't that great,
Right.
So when I joined the group, we were just finishing the build of the building. We actually got the occupancy permit the day that we flew out.
Oh, okay.
To our first expo.
Okay.
It was in St. Louis when it was just the roofers. That was the last just the roofers together in St. Louis. And, must have been in July or something.
Yeah, I think that's when they normally were. Yeah.
June or July. But I was afraid to open up the doors because all I seen was we're going to have to close them in 6 months, to be honest with you.
Right.
Kind of where my mind was, So.
Right.
But the guys that I had with me, which included a couple brothers.
Yeah.
We started implementing the uniforms, the drug-free, the no smoking on the job sites, and all hell broke loose then. So,
right.
But at the same time, what I found was they weren't making me money anyway. So what
exactly.
What we were doing, and they were too worried about. It wasn't about numbers for them. It was just show up and work and
get a paycheck.
That stuff. So, but there was 15 other guys too. That we just we literally dwindled it within 6 months of joining. I think I was down to one guy.
Yep.
And that was a best friend from kindergarten, Daryl, that worked with me, and that lasted a couple more years, and then. That didn't work out either because we got really focused on the business. And,
sure.
So.
But still back then, you guys said, okay, if I remember, it was like two of you just slammed a bunch of repairs. You figured out the margins are awesome on repair work. And you're like, hey, man, why am I going to turn this down? Right. And it kind of helped kind of launch the turnaround. Right. You're able to clear up some debt.
It did. we
Put
could
up some debt, get the infrastructure in place. Now, when did she officially start? Was it like 2012?
2012, late in 2012.
Okay.
You know, I had $1.5 million in AR from the insurance companies and the mortgage companies.
Oh man.
Because I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Wes and Eric didn't go over that 2-hour meeting. So, you know, that was her job. She sat in a corner and literally just rang every insurance company that owed us money and every mortgage company and found out what they needed to finalize invoices and stuff to get it collected. And she just powered right through it.
That's awesome.
And, you know, at the end of the year, I mean, at that time, our overhead was still pretty low.
Sure.
And because I hadn't started the marketing plan, I hadn't, you know, added a lot of stuff yet. We had added some, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And so profits were good that year, and we just kind of sat down and looked at it. And, you know, let's just keep her full time. You know, she don't, you know, need to go back to the bank or anything like that. You know, so we could afford our health insurance, and we had a little bit of money in the bank, so we just started there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you were profitable now, so you guys could both afford to pay each other, right? You're not just taking profit out of the business. You're both getting salaries. You're able to focus more on, you know, she's the back end, right? She's your human KPI machine, right? She's got the financials down. I mean, operations background for a credit union, right? So I'm pretty sure she's good with numbers. You can stay focused on the guys and sales. And away you guys went. Now, that storm, I know, afforded you the ability to start investing in some marketing, right? So you branched into some television, and now I know you've dialed it back since then. But maybe just kind of share with people what you guys did, what you promoted. Were you doing? Were you talking about repairs, or were you mostly just branding yourself? What did those spots look like then and then now?
Yeah, you know, really, it hasn't changed a whole lot from then till now. And I would say it's been probably 99% branding because, you know, we used the roofing dog.
Yep.
And so a lot of people knew about us because of the roofing dog, and we were okay branded for a little while when we were first joining the group.
Yeah.
But you know, we had the storm, and my fear was the storm. All that money and all the extra work was going to go away, you know, because it was.
It was.
On the, you know, there was no more signing up 5 customers at a time with the hailstorm. You know, it was. Now we had to think about, okay, we like this, you know, because we went from 700,000 in revenue to 2.1 that year, and we really liked that amount of money.
Sure.
We wanted to keep on doing it that way, so we started. I started interviewing on the advice of Bill Weaver. Good old, what was the license plate that he talked about? The old vibrating profit. You know,
oh yeah, yeah, he vibrated. Right. That's right.
But so you know, he looked at my financials and he's seen I only spent about $1,000 in our marketing. You know, which probably was a Facebook or not a Facebook, but a Yellow Pages ad.
Yeah.
The extent of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so he says, you really need to look at that. So we talked about it.
Yeah.
So I started interviewing agencies, marketing agencies.
Sure.
This was probably, you know, the storm happened in March, February, I don't know, somewhere around there, spring. And, you know, by June, July, I was thinking a year ahead already. I was like, okay, this ain't gonna last forever.
Right.
How do we keep this going, and what do we need to do to keep it going? So I reached out to Bill, and his advice was to get a marketing plan together. So we did that.
Yep.
I started interviewing agencies.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of that, a whole bunch of rain came.
Right.
And filled up our building. You know, we had a massive flood in 2012, and
we've had some stuff. Yeah.
So we ended up, you know, the ironic part of that, Bob, was I ended up hiring the agency from a car dealership I had to take one of our vans to.
That's right. That's right.
And
I remember this now.
That's you know, because all the agencies that I interviewed with, weren't impressive at all. I actually had one of them ask me if I wanted business cards. I was a little behind business cards.
Yeah.
I don't think they understood what we were wanting to do. But anyway, I had the dealership's marketing group reach out to me to put me in one of their TV commercials because they wanted to attract some more commercial business.
Sure.
And that was when the Detroit Tigers were in the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
And this prominent dealership around here put me in probably, 4,000 or 5,000 ads on TV.
Oh, wow.
That summer. And it just run constantly. And I mean, it was really just the focus was on me. They had their little logo in the bottom right.
Yeah.
It was 2 wrapped vehicles in front of my building with me talking.
Oh, man.
So I ended up here at that agency,
Sure.
By the time the World Series was over, and they actually ran it during the World Series. So I got all this besides that TV that I got for free. Every newspaper and every news channel showed up at my office the morning of the flood.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I got a bunch of nice publicity, a little negative, I thought, but it was good.
Yeah.
But, we ended up having to move to the house for a couple months while we remodeled our brand new building. And so we put together a contract for about $60,000 to start a bunch of TV advertisements. And really it was, we did a whole bunch of customer testimonials. We grabbed about 2 dozen of our customers from the storm that we had done work for that wanted to be on TV. And we interviewed them, similar to what we're doing now, and put them in a TV commercial.
Right.
We started branding ourselves real heavy. And ultimately that led to a TV commercial just for roofing repairs and a TV commercial just for roofing replacement.
Yeah.
And
was that running on like network TV, or were you on targeted cable stations?
There's one TV station here that's pretty prominent.
Okay.
And we just focused on that one. We focused on because we didn't have a ton of money every month. What's that? $5,000 a month. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's enough though.
Yeah. Right.
Because that's where I'm at now. And so we focused on like when Good Morning America runs in the morning, right? We found our clientele to be of age, if you will.
Yep.
And a lot of them are watching the news and the weather Mondays and Thursdays specifically.
Yep.
Because the premise behind that was everybody's going to be watching, more people will be watching the news on Monday because they're trying to catch up because they were gone all weekend or they were busy. And then the same thing for Thursday. They're trying to plan out their weekend. They're watching the news. They're watching the weather. So we pounded the 2 days a week, Mondays and Thursdays, during the most viewed times in the morning and the most viewed times in the evening at 6 o'clock.
Yep. No, that's good. That's good info, because I know a lot of members, a lot of small businesses will just be contacted by, sales reps from TV or radio, and they'll sell them these packages where they're running at like midnight, and I get all these spots, and like you never are seen. So you're better off spending the money to run at some really targeted times. So that's great that you guys did that right.
And I was hounded by all them sales reps from the radio stations, TV for years.
Sure.
And you're right. I mean, my advice to anybody would be to never hire any of them.
Right.
Get your own rep, because my rep essentially is free. I've never paid the guy a dime.
Yeah.
It's all commission based the way all of that works. There's a commission on every TV commercial and every spot. And it's either the in-house agency salesperson is going to get the commission or your guy's going to get the commission.
Exactly.
Because we tried to go in without an agency when I switched agencies, and you can't do that either. You're going to end up stuck with an in-house guy.
Yeah. And
they're about filling their spots. They're not about filling your spots. So
100%. Well, and that that's why it's important that as we talked earlier, you got priced right. You got your margins right, so you can invest a little bit more. You can spend a little bit more because you've got it built into your budget that you can advertise the right way. And if you're worried about robbing Peter to pay Paul, like you said earlier, you can't. Every dollar is going to matter, and people. That's when they start thinking, well, I'll just try and nickel and dime my broadcast advertising, and it's just a waste of money. When it comes down to it, it comes down to how many leads are you getting for your dollars. And if you spend, $2,000 and you're all over the place and no one sees you, you get nothing out of it. So I think you got a great lesson that people can take from that for sure.
Yeah, having an agency, I know the group's got the brand guys, which is probably identical to similar to what I do locally here, but
sure.
I just use a local rep that he schedules it all. I don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And now, he does all my graphic design. He does, he's got a guy for that, and a little bit of everything. So he's a real helpful person, and quite frankly, I don't. He makes the money off the commission of the TV spots.
Sure. Yeah, and then like we were talking again before I hit record on this. You got to keep a presence, right? It's important that you keep your name out there, but you are not struggling for work. If anything, you're trying to dial it back a little bit. Maybe share with people how frequently. I mean, how booked out are you on jobs, on re-roofs, on repair appointments? How booked out are you these days normally?
Yeah, we were consistently 4 to 6 to 8 weeks out on appointments, whether it's repair or replacement.
Yeah.
Whether it was I had 2 guys or 10 guys running leads, it didn't matter. We were just, we were far out, which was great.
Right.
And it worked, but like I talked about on the repair side, it's difficult to run a service department when you're that far out. We don't have enough people.
Right.
So we dialed it back. And like I was telling you earlier, it's taken me 2 years to turn it down. It wasn't something I could just turn down overnight.
Sure.
Because we had it all out there and we had people and all that good stuff. But what we found was, all that, we're all pushed and all taught to go after that top line revenue. I mean, all you got to do is get on Facebook for 5 minutes and everybody's telling you need more leads and you need more revenue.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I was a sucker for all of it. I'll buy it all.
You're a sales guy. You make money, man. That's your background. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're all looking for that easy button. And,
sure.
Some of that stuff is, not what we should be doing. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of years is toning it down quite a bit so I can stay focused on our brand.
Yep.
I don't know what a lot of people think of what their brand is, but branding isn't just your logo and who it's really who you are and
exactly.
What kind of integrity do you have and character and people, and how you service the community and how you take care of them. So, staying focused on the brand instead of the revenue, we've learned makes us way more money.
Yeah. And
that's what we've done the last couple of years. So we wound it down to what we did. We did 1.8 last year at 22%.
Right. Which is phenomenal.
And
you kind of learned, if I can interject, you kind of learned, I don't know, I hate to say the hard way, but you've tried to hire, and you have hired others. You've had a team of salespeople, right? And sometimes you find out what they're doing. They say one thing, and then you find out when you talk to the customer, it's another. And that's why I think it's important to, and I'm glad you brought that up. Your brand is more than just some marketing. It's really who you are in your community, and you valued that too much to have those types of people.
Yeah. It was got to a rat race. Like I said, we were just so busy. We had a couple storms come through, and we had to, we didn't have to add people, but we chose to add people. Like
sure.
you said,
that's right.
You take the rough road sometimes, and you get scraped up, and you learn the hard way.
Right.
Sometimes them are the best lessons. That's some of the best lessons that I learned, and it's got me to this point. So. I'm not afraid to jump in a bucket of fire. I'll jump right back out, though. But,
okay. Right. You learn from it. You don't sit in it. You don't sit and smolder. I tell you, I know a lot of guys that sit and smolder and go, I don't get what's wrong, but something smells. I don't get it.
Woohoo, that didn't work.
Yeah, right.
So it's just learning. I mean, we can only learn so much from the group and our mentors and all that stuff. Sometimes you just got to do it and figure out your way. And, we're all unique in ourselves. And not everybody's grown up to be this big leader of 50 guys or 100 people.
And that's fine.
And that's, what I realized, that's not me anyway. I'm not that person. And that's why I'm okay with now where I'm at. I'm like, My brand is what it is. It's very strong in our community.
Yep.
I could probably turn off all my marketing right now, all my TV, and still hit numbers
Yeah.
that I want to hit. I want to be relevant. I don't want to disappear.
No.
So I keep a little bit out there now.
Sure.
And,
well, you're not wrapping it up anytime soon. You're a young guy, so it's good to have a presence out there in case, that way you don't slow down. That way you stay. You can be selective. And you've said that. Maybe you mentioned that to me earlier. You're selective with who you work with. Maybe share that with people that you won't, if someone's grumpy on the phone, you're like, maybe we're not the right company for you, right?
Oh, and it's exactly that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like sometimes we work at Walmart, in the general public, I don't know, they're dirty,
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you meet these people for 2 seconds on the phone, and I mean, we follow scripts, it's not us, and it just, quite frankly, some grumpy people, and they think, because we advertise that we should stop everything right now and come to their house. We had a guy last night. He called 6 times during my son's graduation.
Yeah.
I did work for his neighbor in 2010.
Yeah.
And he wanted to, we had some potential rain coming last night. And he wanted to get his roof fixed before it rained.
Right.
Quite frankly, we ain't calling the guy back. We don't care. Well, you're not our customer. If you don't respect us for who we are and what we can do for you and what we've done for your neighbors, you're not our customer, and we're not going to waste our time calling them back.
Right.
Because he's not going to pay our fee.
Exactly.
Right? And he wants it tomorrow. And we're not chasing that no more. We're going to work for the people that respect us and who are, they're tired of getting ripped off by contractors. They're tired. They don't want to go down that road. They want the professional, and you know what? I'm willing to pay extra for that, and I want you, and that's who we work for now.
Yep. So you Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's what you do is just right. You market yourself to keep your name out there, right? So you have that presence, and you're going to get the 3%ers or whatever. Maybe it's 5% now. The population. It's a pain in the butt, right? But you do great work. And and people know they're taken care of, and you put a roof on the neighbor's house 10 years ago, it must be working great, and so, so you get the word of mouth, you do the advertising, you treat people the right way, and you can be selective. So I think you're a testament to that.
Support for this podcast comes from Learning Alliance. SGI members, you can gain virtually unlimited access to the vast assortment of high-impact sales, communication, leadership, and management training provided by Learning Alliance by becoming a Total Access member. In addition, with Total Access, you gain access to an arsenal of online instructional videos to augment your training at home. You get the in-person and online training for an incredibly small monthly investment. And training is most definitely an investment. Members on average see a return of $3 for every one they spend with Learning Alliance. To sign up, go to the new Learning Alliance training portal on your SGI Hub website or call at 941-702-9623.
Welcome back to the show. I'm talking with Kelly Good of Goods Roofing in Burton, Michigan. We're talking about chasing less revenue, but being more profitable and enjoying a better work-life balance. Kelly's had so much to share so far. Let's jump back into my conversation with Kelly Good of Goods Roofing in Burton, Michigan. I'd love to talk to you about, you said you got the 2 techs that do, they sell, they do their own repairs. It's great, because I think more and more we see in the industry is they'll have guys go out there and sell the repairs, and then they'll book them out, later on. So I'm kind of intrigued. So one of the gentlemen has been with you 7 years. How long has the other individual been with you? Has he been there for a while?
3 years.
3 years. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Lucas been with us for 3 years, and
okay.
Caleb, he was a sub for us. He ran a crew for a short period. But very similar to most of the sub crews, it's very hard to keep a decent crew together.
Yep.
And so we knew he was cut from a different cloth. Yeah. He had, very clean cut guy, very well put together. Come from a decent home, wasn't wanted by the law, none of that good stuff. So I basically told him I can't sub no more work for you, but I got a job for you, and I want you to run with this. And he's run with it very well. He loves it. What he cleared? He cleared 98,000 last year.
Yeah.
97 the year before.
That's great.
So he's doing very well.
Yeah, he's happy.
He's doing very well, and he really enjoys it. So
that's great.
Few years, he's starting to get a big customer base of his own, where clients are calling. They just want Caleb out there.
Sure.
We had a client in our office dropping off a deposit yesterday. She and her husband are ministers at their church and in a ministry and whatnot, and they just loved him to death. And now they want him to go put a roof on the church. So he's going out there next week to look at the church. So it's amazing how that leads to just being a good person.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy. We go back to the sales side of it, and how he sells and what he does. He's very similar to what I am. He's just a good, genuine dude.
Yeah.
He don't ask for no. I mean, he don't push. He's just a good dude, and you're gonna buy from him if you like him. It's all about likability and trust with him. Yes. And so we don't get into none of the sales stuff, the tactics. Maybe we could do a little bit better there, but at the same time, when we get feedback like that from all of his clients, literally like every one of them talk like that about him. So he's in a very good place.
That's great. Now when he goes out, maybe I would like to talk about your process a little bit, just so people understand it. Is he doing like a whole inspection? Is he filling out some kind of paper report, getting in the attic, and doing the full, showing what the value is, right? You're paying a service fee. You guys do the service fee.
Yep, $79. Yeah,
I love it. $79. That's better. That's better than we tell a lot of people. And he's put in the effort in, right? He's looking at everything. Again, is he filling out something on paper? Or are you guys on iPads now, or use some software for that?
On paper. We're
paper,
we're paper people here.
Yeah, I like that.
They're using spreadsheets. But the Family First Survey, he's got it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
We've modified it a little bit, but
sure.
I've probably modified it 20 times now.
Well, yeah, you've been doing this a little while, Kelly.
That's it right there.
Nice. I like it, boy. I like it. You even had. This was not prepared at all. I did not ask you to do that.
Oh, well, I don't think the wife knows it, but she left this on my desk when she ran out of here earlier.
Oh no.
But here's the questionnaire. I mean, I'll admit it. There ain't nothing on there, Bob.
Yeah. Look at that.
But he's asking a lot of that stuff. He goes through. We don't want it to be an interview. We don't want it to be uncomfortable, because we have guys in our market, which everybody else does, where they're just drilling them. I remember some of the training that I went through is wear them out 3 hours, and they won't want to go through this again.
Yeah.
And they'll sign with you. Well, if that's what it's got to be to hire us, I don't want to do business like that.
No.
So,
and I think that's changed a bit too. I think that's changed. I think people are a little less patient with that. But
but the thing is everybody's still doing it out there in the market. So when we come in there nice and relaxed, and I mean we have all this memorized. There's a lot of that's covered in the conversation many times over. Exactly. We've got the drawing portion and all the checklist stuff.
Yep.
And he doesn't fill that out either sometimes too.
Right.
Still got the sales, so that's all that matters. But
no, I think top salespeople and technicians, they go through those surveys in the other trades as well. It's all verbal, and then they might take notes a little bit, but they don't. Once they are comfortable with it and they know it, it's part of who they are.
And he's been using
conversation.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And especially with the things in the last year, I mean, you ain't sitting down with anybody. We were doing everything from the front porch.
Oh yeah, sure.
So the last year has been even more different, and I know everybody bought into the what they call it, online or whatever, doing sales calls that way.
Sure.
Remotely or whatever. like we are right now doing a
Like we
sales
are right
call.
now. Yep.
We didn't get into none of that. We just, if you got a roof problem,
You want it fixed.
Yeah, you want it fixed.
You want it fixed.
We're talking on phones through the glass of someone's door, and we did very well doing it that way. So we just stuck with it. But I don't force the issue of them filling it out. We could get better, obviously. But they're pretty fine tuned on what they do and pretty polished at what they do. We have our process. So they go all sell it.
Yeah, and they get all the information, so they make people think about stuff that maybe they wouldn't have thought about otherwise by asking those questions. Now, when they go out, say for or a typical repair or whatever, now do you guys build like 3 options? Do you follow that, or are there instances where you'll have if it's a roof that's really banged up, will you give them a repair option and a replacement option, or what's your philosophy on options? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
We repair. We're pretty strict at repair. Either it's repairable or it's not. That was something that I learned early on in the group. That you can't repair everything. I mean, you can, right? You can try.
You can try.
But at the same time, you end up owning that roof after the fact.
Right.
If it's a roof that needs to get replaced, it should be replaced. So we jumped in that bucket of fire and learned that too. So I'm real strict on what we repair and what we replace, I guess. Because we get a lot of funky stuff that people want you to repair, and we just say no. Because otherwise they're just going to be screaming at you tomorrow.
Right.
Because we're charging a lot of money. They give us $2-3 grand to make a repair to a section of the roof.
Yeah.
And 10 feet away, it's shot over there too. And why didn't you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well, again, it comes down to you do the right thing, you respect and you protect your brand, and that's part of your brand. If you come out and you sell an expensive repair, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to tell them about that hole over there, and I'll wait from in 6 months when that happens. That's just not. I mean, it's not ethical either, right? So you're doing the right thing for your customers.
Yeah, and we're just honest with them. Either it's repairable or it's not. So we judge that. In some of our qualifying on the phone. That Michelle to help determine, is it a repair or replacement? Do we charge a fee and don't we charge a fee?
Yeah.
We just make our own judgment calls on that. Sometimes, sometimes we're wrong, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So they do. They're doing the full inspection, attic space.
Yep.
And I started doing insulation years ago, so attic space has always been a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because we're going to sell attic insulation as well, or we're going to correct a problem with ventilation in the attic. Or
right. I don't think that gets talked enough about. There's it's like 9 out of 10 rooms are not properly ventilated. I forget what this. Maybe it's 8 out of 10. Some absurd number. I remember looking at the research years ago, and maybe it's getting better now in the industry. But really, do you see that a lot?
Yeah, it's the ventilation. I don't know. I don't see a lot of stuff's ventilated. I mean. Codes were different back in the day, but things are ventilated. The problem is they're not insulated correctly.
They're not insulated, right?
We're losing all that humidity and the heat. We're putting it in the attic.
Yep.
That's because I hear a lot of guys will. Some may agree with this, some might not. But ventilation is not going to solve an ice dam issue.
Right.
I'll put money on it. Right. Ventilation, you're going to circulate some air, but that's not solving
No, it's a heat.
We're up here in Michigan. We got ice dams like crazy. And at the end of the day, you're losing heat from the inside of your home.
Yep.
It's true. Again, with the insulation, we're kind of specialized in that. We only touch what we want to touch and do what we want to do, and we're problem solvers. We're not going in there just insulating, and doing a whole bunch of production insulating. We're fixing a huge problem, huge mold problem. And we're getting paid.
I was going to say the mold issues. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the health issue of it. Yeah, that makes it. I'm sure that makes it an easy upsell as well. It's just go, hey, all that moisture. Guess what it does to the wood and all the structure of your home, right?
Yeah. So we'll do quite a few redecks. Replace all the sheeting, re-insulate.
Right.
Bring in a mold guy to remediate that and run with it. So and
now,
real high profit, so
yeah. Oh yeah, I was going to say, I know insulation. The guys that do the margins are nuts. They're phenomenal in that. Now, are you like bundling that with re-roofs, or are you bundling it with repairs, or is it a separate sale that you'll do? Like, okay, this is what your repair is, this is what the insulation is, or do you just kind of put them together and give them separate? How do you communicate that? How do you sell it to the homeowner?
Yeah, whether it's a repair or replacement, we're getting in the attic, and one of our things that we have to do as that professional company is to share with them what we see.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. We're not selling nothing.
Right.
They got a problem. They called us out to fix their problem.
Yeah.
And okay, it's not what they thought it was, and it's not as the money wise and whatnot. But if you want your problem fixed, this is how you fix it. It works very well that way. So it's a repair and a replacement thing.
Okay.
And we very seldom just do insulation on its own. I can't think of the last time we just did an insulation job.
Okay.
Because we're priced way, we're, I don't know, $4 a foot on insulation.
Yeah.
On your basic stuff. And, most guys are doing it for $1.
Yeah.
The Lowe's and the Home Depot do it for $1 a square foot. And so let them blow and go, guys. We don't do work for them guys where they're just trying to add some. We do it for, we're solving a big problem is what we're doing. So it makes it very profitable.
Yeah. I mean, and you're taking care of, it's important, to emphasize, you're taking care of all that roofing, the wood and everything. Like those blow and go guys, they don't care about all that other stuff. They're just blowing it in and they're getting out. They could have mold in there and they ain't going to say anything because they got 20 jobs to get to that day and they don't give a damn. That's how they're making their money. So when you give that repair, you just bundle the insulation with that, so they see it all as one thing. Okay, good.
In the insulation, when you're solving a problem, there's not a whole lot of options. There's one option, and that's do it the right way. So not a whole different. Sometimes we'll give them some options, but price gets. We'll do quite a few of them where we're spray foam in the attic.
Okay, I was going to ask you. Okay, I was going to ask what kind of foam. Yeah, if you use foam or what kind of insulation you guys use typically?
Mostly cellulose. I have a sub that I use for the spray foam.
Yeah.
And we'll bring them in. I got a big cathedral ceiling job that the guy had no idea he had mushrooms in his attic. I mean, it's bad. So we're in the process of getting that remediated right now.
Yeah.
And then our guys are going in to rip off the roof, and then we're going to spray everything with spray foam. And some parts of the attic space is going to have cellulose in it, but it's going to solve this problem. And it's triple of what he thought he was going to spend on his roof, but it was all because of the roof, and I did my attic space inspection, and
you show them a mushroom. I think that's a pretty easy sell that you got an issue.
Man, I got it. Disgusting. But there's some tricky ones. We'll do a few like that every year. So
I'm intrigued by this. This, I don't know, is a partner you have doing your mold remediation? Is it just the same company that you sub out constantly, and you just know what they're going to charge you, and you build that, that cost, or do you hit them later? Okay, this is what it ended up being, and this is what how does that kind of work? Maybe walk people through that.
With the remediation, I stay away from that just because of liability.
Okay. Right.
I could go get certified, all that good stuff, and do it as well. But I got a local guy that I just reach out to when we run into asbestos in the attic. He'll do the remediation for that, or the mold, and then he can be held responsible if it grows back, So we keep ourselves out of the liability part just because of that. So we just sub it out, sub that out to a local guy, and he can take care of all that. I lean on him for questions and whatnot when I need to.
So he sells it, or you sell it and basically sub it to him? I'm just trying to understand.
We sell it. Yeah, we sell it.
Okay.
We'll always have him go out and look at it first. It's a pretty clear conversation with the client. That we need to bring an expert. Bring our expert in to put a price on what it's going to take to get the mold or the asbestos out of here.
Right.
And some of the asbestos stuff, there's some federal rebates and whatnot. He handles all that.
Yeah.
Where they can get that paid for. So, and then the spray foam I sub out, and then my technicians do the fine tuning of everything. They do the baffling, all the ventilation, and in the attic, and then they'll do the
Okay.
cellulose.
Okay.
We do a bunch of air sealing in the attic space,
Okay.
which is, sealing all the pipes and all the
Yeah.
fixtures throughout the house, all
Right.
the light fixtures. You lose a lot of heat and humidity through them.
Sure.
We'll seal the attic hatch doors, bathroom vents, all that good stuff, getting everything ventilated correctly. So,
Do you get people that'll call you like a month or 2 months later and go, "Holy cow, my electric bill or my gas bill with the winter is way lower." Do you hear that? You hear the success stories from
yeah,
that? Yeah.
just about every job, that we do. I mean,
that's pretty detailed
that's
what
the
you
cool
guys
part
do.
about installation. It's pretty instant gratification for the client.
Right. Right.
You know, we've had a few clients that older gentleman, one specifically, he'd have to wear a hat in his house because it was always a little chilly.
Oh, geez.
And he kept his heat down. He's a cheap guy, so he kept his
Sure.
heat down. And but once we insulated him, he come up to our office and he's like, "I don't have to wear a hat in my house anymore. It's amazing."
Isn't that something?
And it's amazing. Yeah. So
That's
it's pretty
great.
neat to see that
And
and hear the feedback. So.
And I'm guessing when you go on a job or one of your techs go on a job to sell, someone collecting bids and you're the one that goes, "Hey, did you know you have mushrooms in your attic?" That automatically, I would assume I'm going to go with that guy because he actually looked at everything. It's got to help sell jobs being that thorough, right?
Yeah. And that's what I like about the two techs that I have. And that's why I have them sell now, because they can actually write a scope of work. They know what they're looking for versus just a commission-based salesperson that, quite frankly, is still learning or is focused on the sale. Our techs can go out, whether it's replacement, repair, and scope out an entire job to a T.
Yeah.
They might call me 10 times in the process to get it exactly right,
but you're the size where that works.
They're just making sure, that they're doing it right, covering their CYA. So, but so they can write the scope of work, and quite frankly, they can do the work too. So the customers really like that. That's what they really like about. Well, even myself, I'm a roofer by trade. That's how I started all of this, is just roofing, and so we all can write the scope of work. We can all do the work.
Yeah.
And the customers, our customer base, that's what they want. And I'm good with that customer base because, quite frankly, they pay a lot.
Yeah.
And they're willing.
Yeah, exactly. I think. Yeah.
And that's our sales call. The amount of knowledge that we bring to the table. And we lose a ton because, some people, that's just not their cup of tea. But what I found is they're the ones that don't pay you in the end either, or they'll come dime you, or give you a bad review for no reason, or whatever, So the people that really care to get it done correctly and to get their problem solved, we're the right guys for that.
I was going to say, I think, it's just, I feel like the contracting world has changed. I mean, I know there's lots of competitors out there, but people, I feel like more and more value. We talked about this before I hit record. I think they more and more value and their time not being wasted and not having to worry that, that this roofing issue is going to pop up again. And that's the people that you want. I mean, sure, there are the cheap Charlie folks that want everything for a nickel, but if you just work with the people you want to work with, that solves a lot of the problems, right? It's just what it seems like to me. So
we try to screen them and qualify them real hard now, with that stuff, and look for that the way the conversation goes. Yeah, I mean, Michelle will put it in the notes.
Yeah. Okay, she'll say this guy.
Give them a price and run, not our customer. But we're not going to get a bad review by not going out there.
See, that's a good little nugget right there. Yeah.
So some of them conversations will get tested because people are so strong in what they want and what they believe. They tell you what to do and whatnot. So, a few will slide by where she's like, it's better than, because she'll get on, some guys will be like, oh, this, that, and the other, pretty much. So she'll just book the appointment.
Yeah.
You won't give but a little window of time to get to that appointment.
This is a brand saver. No, this is we don't want the bad review saver.
Yeah, go out there. They paid the fee, but go out there. Then sometimes we'll get surprised and they hire us. But
sure.
But
it's funny what you can tell on a phone call, though, right? And how someone treats you and how they're and just how they communicate. You're like, oh my God, this is someone I really don't want to deal with, you know,
Yeah.
a large project, because they're just going to be on us every minute of the day, right?
Yeah. And that's been the journey, is learning to understand and value ourselves more. Be like, wait a minute here, we're the experts in the community. We've been
Yeah.
around for a long time.
And you got work stacked up. You're not chasing.
You're going to work on our terms. I
Yeah.
understand, the whole, well, we talked about it, answer the phone earlier, answer it later. We're okay with it going to voicemail now. I mean, we used to panic, get the phone on the first ring.
Yeah. You're in a different spot.
We're going to call them right back,
Sure.
and they get surprised. They're like, oh my gosh, no one else has called me back. And that sells it right there,
That's
just calling them
Sure.
back, but because we miss a few phone calls now the way things are, but, so yeah, it's
right. But, like we talked, Michelle's able to pick up your son, Lincoln, when he's out of school. And I know you have the woman that comes in later, but you have chosen what you want out of your life and out of your business. And you guys have it. And I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's kind of the journey right now. I'm busy on the west side of the state. I'm building a cabin on 40 acres. That's been
nice.
My last year of on the Muskegon River, which is a big local tributary, off of Lake Michigan, and it's beautiful out there. And so I found a little second spot for me over there, and we've been spending a lot of time out there. Yeah, we only have one life, and this. I know a lot of business owners. We're all, they talk about this work-life balance. There is none when you own a business.
Right.
Even the guys that just manage their business, there is none. No matter what, because if you're on vacation, your phone's ringing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Something's going on, and you got to take care of it. But so we're just choosing, to do it the way that we're doing it right now. It's working very well. We're real happy with it.
I love it. I have one more tactical operational question, and then kind of wrap it up, because I know we've been on the phone for a long time, but I love talking to you. How do you manage your re-roof projects? Who is it? You just trust the team that you have that does that? Do you have a foreman that works with, or do your techs who sell it go out and check on it, or how do you make sure that it's a quality installation every time?
So no production manager.
Right.
Michelle handles all the scheduling with the clients.
Right.
And all the communication from deliveries to dumpsters and all that good stuff.
Okay.
What we do is and that's been a struggle, crews and installers and whatnot. Finding good ones is tough,
Right.
And, so what we do is between the three of us, one of us is stopping by the job.
Okay.
Or we're getting them started first thing in the morning. It just depends on the job, and where it's at. And, so we try to, if Caleb sells it, Lucas sells it, that's their job. They need to go out there in the morning. We give them morning time to get their day started. And they'll visit that job site prior to.
Okay.
But really, there's really not a whole ton. We do have a couple decent crews, and we do have to babysit them a little bit on certain things, but we get them started. But what we do is, as the job's complete, and we tell the customer this, if I sold it, I'm coming back to inspect it when they're done.
Yeah.
So I'll walk the roof, or Caleb will, or Lucas will. And,
they know their feet are being held to the fire. They can't slack off.
Absolutely. That was one of the neat procedure we put in place, last couple of years, because we don't have a production manager,
right?
Or a field guy or whatnot, So we haven't found that to work with any of the people, so we just manage it ourselves.
You do what you got to do,
and then it's just managing that time, making. We used to, the techs would start at 8 o'clock in the morning running appointments. They'd have an 8 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, a 1 o'clock. And, the rigmarole. And really had to sit down with Michelle and go, that's an overwhelming day for them. And then if something comes up on a job, we scramble. So let's quit scrambling. We control every aspect of this. And
Right.
If it goes sideways on us, it's our own fault. It's because we didn't
Right.
plan things out correctly. So,
Right.
and it's been a huge adjustment because we're just used to working 24/7 and going on, sun up to
Yeah.
sundown. And we
Yeah.
enjoy doing that. We're hard
Yeah.
work, but at the same time, some of that managing the jobs and managing the technicians and whatnot gets very difficult when we overstack our day. So
Sure.
we've backed off a lot with their appointments.
That's good. And they're more I bet it sounds like they're more productive on their appointments because they're not just dog tired.
Yeah, they're not, because I could overwork them and they quit on me. So
yeah, exactly.
You can only work so much, and money isn't everything. So getting their schedules tidied up quite a bit. So now they'll get started earlier on the days they have repairs, depending on the weather. But for the most part, they're in the office, they're on the job site. 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's square for Michelle, and the crew will communicate with Michelle and let us know if they need anything, and we'll go out there. We just set all that stuff up with the customer, the expectation of what's going to happen and how it's going to go down.
That's great.
I'm not going to be out here the whole time. Oh yeah, they understand that. And, but they got our cell phone numbers. Call us if you need anything.
Right. That's great.
We're not doing the crazy amount of production like we used to, so it's a lot more manageable. And so we just set it up to what we can manage now, and that's very hard, Bob. When you're used to.
You are used to running, man. I know from your day when you first started. It's just kind of ingrained. You're a hard worker, which I've always respected. But there's a time for working smart too, right?
Yeah, Lincoln's 7 now, and so I'm coaching his baseball team Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's
and cool. I don't want to be rushing from an appointment, or a meeting or something like that. So that we make time for all of that now, and trying to spend more time out there. We're just finishing up the cabin.
Yep.
In about a month. So when that's done, we're gonna. I bet we're gonna be out there just about every weekend.
That's awesome.
And enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah.
Instead of just work and work more and work more.
And work more. Right.
While I'm building a cabin and working more.
I was gonna say, these days you got to get done building stuff and to sit down and look at the water, right? I don't think you can do that.
Right around the corner, it's coming. So, just slowing the pace down, and it's not because we've made a bunch of money or anything like that. It's because we're choosing to. A lot of the choices that us as business owners make, it's all on us, and if you choose to work like that, then so be it. But right now, where we're at in life, it's let's work for who we want to work for, who appreciates us, who respects us.
Yes.
And the same thing with our workforce, our people that work with us, and if we don't have 10 of them, that's fine. If it's just a couple of them, that's okay. We'll get there. So.
Yeah. Real quick. Well, because I'm intrigued, because you mentioned what your techs were making. How, if they're selling roofs, if they're selling the repairs, how are they compensated? Is it they get a certain percentage for each re-roof? They get a percentage of each repair? Is it some kind of a new comp system? I'm sure there's people that are intrigued by that.
Yeah. We follow the model pretty closely. They get a percentage of the replacement, 8 to 10%.
Yep.
They'll get the 10% once they hit the $100,000 for the year. Or for a month.
Yep.
And then on the repair side, it's a little different, but pretty much following the model. They get a percentage. They get the percentage of the doing the work, and then they get the percentage for the sale. So they'll get, if they sell it and do it themselves, they get 26% and 8 to 10% on replacement. And then they work together. So a lot of the repairs are bigger.
Yeah.
And for safety reasons, we like to send them out together a lot.
Yeah. So
so they just split it.
That's great.
Labor 8 and 8. Run with it.
Sounds like you got a good team. They sound like they're motivated. They value the business. They treat it as if it's their own. And you take care of them, right? Because they're not overworked. They're making good money. everyone's happy, right? You're not less fires. We're not sitting there and smoldering anymore, right? So
no more buckets of fire. No more.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah.
Kelly, I could talk to you all day. I really appreciate your time. Hey, last question. Two kind of wrap up questions. First of all, so what are you guys thinking? I know you want to hire some good people, right? And you're willing to wait a couple of years, but is that the next big thing? You just want to try and maybe hire a salesperson who gets it and is a right fit? Is that the next big thing?
No, I don't think I would hire another salesperson.
Okay.
I'm going to grow them from like I am with Lucas and Caleb, I have with them.
That's great.
Because they're totally bought into everything that we do. I really need to get them to expo is what I need to do so they can see the whole picture. But, like I said, the last year, 2 years, they started to sell in replacement as well instead of just repairs. And so if anything, they're going to just jump right up into, maybe no longer doing the repairs as much and they're selling more. And, the people I would be looking to, kind of add on right now is some apprentices to, team up with them on repairs and slowly train them to become superstars like them. I've done it for 10, 12 years now of, hiring and firing and all that good stuff. And the best way is to start from scratch with them, And maybe they come with a little bit of experience, a year or two or something like that, maybe 5, but as long as they, fit into our model. So that would be my next goal is some technician, a technician or 2 technicians to help them guys out.
Yeah.
So they could sell more.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate the hard work that they do for me and all that good stuff. And I'd like to see them get off the roof a little bit more.
Sure.
As far as some of the repairs. And, maybe another admin to help Michelle out, another part-time admin.
Yeah.
Kind of going off the Dan Wartzel model of hiring, females that, or males, I guess it could be, but that aren't in it for the money. They just want to do something and they really enjoy it. And they got a big smile on their face the whole time. And they're just thankful for, hanging out with them basically.
Right. They got a good attitude.
Really good people. And so, but no big. I said that maybe not. I skipped last expo, but the expo before that, no big, hairy, audacious goals for me.
Right, just slow and steady and super profitable.
We're gonna go with the flow. We got absolute control over everything. We're making money, and if we only did $1 million this year, I'd still be happy with it because I know I'm making money off of it. And,
yes, you are.
Our customers are happy, and my people are happy, and so we'll just, I guess, maybe follow the model a little bit more instead of growing 100% every year. We'll try that 10%.
That's fair. Do what's good for you, man. Do what's good for you. All right. That's right. All right. Last question. What advice would you have for other roofers out there, in the group, outside of the group, how to get to where you are, where you're happy, you're super profitable, and you just know what you want, and you're doing that. Like any words of wisdom to them in wrapping up?
Yeah. I guess guys with the group, maybe the newer guys, some of us old guys in the group, we've seen it all. So, I see a lot of newer guys join. I see a lot of new faces. I don't recognize half the people anymore.
Right.
But for them guys, it would be, don't worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
As far as revenue and how many salespeople they have.
Yeah.
Everybody's unique in their own way. You don't have to have 20 sales guys. You don't have to have $10 million in revenue because you've seen it on Facebook because the next guru is trying to sell you something.
There's a lot out there now.
It's everywhere, right? It's pretty sad, and we're easy sales, we're easy sales for the people because it seems like the easy red button from my experience anyway. And really the value, there's not a lot of value there anyway. So you're getting sold a lot of copy and pasted information. So stick with the RSI stuff and implement as much as you can. You don't have to do it all.
Right.
But implement what fits you and what suits you, and build your own brand up in your own community. Get involved in the community. giving away roofs. We've done a couple each year the last couple of years. It's a whole ton of great branding that you can do.
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
awesome.
expensive. I don't pay for a dime of material when I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get money donated for the labor. So it's
man,
a lot of times all free to us. So don't worry about that top line revenue. Worry about the net at the end and how you can keep your money. Do less marketing, do less work, and run the business the way you want to run it.
Yeah.
But then there's lots of guys that, they want to be that $5-10 million guy. And I
that's fine. Sure.
I see a lot of guys that do it. And they got a great group. I mean, I see Adam down there with Integrity, but he's got, 4 or 5 great, awesome guys right next to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have that, that's just not us, So that's a unique situation. That's a unique group of guys. And they can do that, and they can do it very well, So unless you have that big group of core people to manage it all, don't get so focused on that, because it's just as good being smaller as well.
Sure. Yeah. If you're going to grow, you got to grow with the right people. You got to grow with the right
absolutely.
People. So good stuff. Callie, thank you so very much for your time. I love talking to you. You're a great guy. I just always enjoyed it. So really appreciate all your insight. Lots of good nuggets, I think, for people to take away. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope maybe I'll see you at this next expo whenever we announce that.
Appreciate it, Bob. We'll see you.
All right, buddy. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you, my friend. Bye-bye.
That's Kelly Good of Goods Roofing in Burton, Michigan, on how he's enjoying having a happier team, happier clients, and a happier life by chasing less revenue, but enjoying a staggering 22% net profit. Thanks for joining us. If you feel like you have a great story worth sharing that would also help other contractors, please email me at bhouchin@yoursgi.com. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on your favorite podcast player, give us a 5-star review. And please join us for future episodes. It's my promise to you that I will continue to interview successful contractors and other influential individuals in the contracting world. This is The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International.
Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony Financial. Allow homeowners to pay at a rate that fits their budget with a merchant fee that fits yours. Visit www.toolbox.mysynchrony.com for more information. The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the Success Group International family. SGI is the largest member-owned best practices organization for independent residential services contractors. SGI provides its members a competitive edge through proven proprietary management tools and expertise, marketing programs, training, and group buying power, along with a highly active and eager to help membership. For more information about Success Group International, visit www.yoursgi.com.